In the scorching heart of northeastern Africa, where endless dunes meet the relentless sun, lies one of archaeology's most profound enigmas. A collection of ancient temples so magnificent, so architecturally sophisticated, that they challenge everything we thought we knew about early African civilizations. Yet these monuments remain largely unknown to the world, overshadowed by their Egyptian neighbors to the north. The question that haunts every researcher who ventures into this forsaken landscape is not simply why these temples were built, but why they have been so systematically forgotten by mainstream history. The Kingdom of Kush, which flourished in what is now Sudan from approximately 1070 BCE to 350 CE, constructed some of the most remarkable religious structures ever created by human hands. While the world focuses obsessively on Egypt's pyramids, over 200 pyramids stand in Sudan, more than in all of Egypt. Yet few outside academic circles can name even a single one. The temples associated with these pyramids, at sites like Meroe, Nuri, and Jebel Barkal, represent an architectural tradition that predates many European civilizations and demonstrates engineering prowess that modern scholars struggle to explain with the primitive tools supposedly available at the time. What makes these temples particularly fascinating is their deliberate positioning. The ancient Kushites didn't randomly select locations for their sacred structures. Every major temple complex aligns with specific astronomical phenomena: solstices, equinoxes, and the rising of particular star systems. The Temple of Amun at Jebel Barkal, for instance, sits at the base of a flat-topped mountain that the ancients believed was the dwelling place of the god Amun himself. The mountain's peak, when viewed from certain angles, resembles the uraeus cobra crown worn by pharaohs, a resemblance the Kushites considered divinely ordained. Recent geological surveys have revealed that the entire temple complex is oriented to capture the first rays of the sun during the winter solstice, bathing the inner sanctum in golden light at precisely the moment of dawn. But here's where the mystery deepens. Beneath many of these temples, ground-penetrating radar has detected vast underground chambers and tunnel networks that serve no apparent practical purpose. The official explanation that these were storage facilities or burial chambers fails to account for their enormous scale and sophisticated construction. Some of these subterranean passages extend hundreds of meters, featuring ventilation shafts, water channels, and architectural elements that suggest they were designed for human occupation, not storage. One particularly enigmatic chamber beneath the Temple of Mut at Jebel Barkal contains a series of acoustic properties that amplify specific frequencies of sound. Modern acoustic engineers who have studied the chamber report that it seems designed to resonate at frequencies associated with altered states of consciousness. The disappearance of these temples from public consciousness is itself suspicious. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, European colonial powers systematically dismantled, looted, and deliberately destroyed many Sudanese archaeological sites. The British Museum, the Berlin Egyptian Museum, and dozens of private collections across Europe contain thousands of artifacts from these temples, statues, reliefs, inscriptions, that were removed under the guise of preservation. Yet the knowledge of these sites was never popularized the way Egyptian discoveries were. One can't help but wonder if there was a deliberate effort to suppress the importance of these African achievements, which demonstrated that sub-Saharan Africa possessed advanced civilizations that rivaled or even predated those of the Mediterranean world. The inscriptions found within these temples present another layer of mystery. While many are written in Meroitic script, an ancient language that remains only partially deciphered, others contain symbols and mathematical notations that appear nowhere else in the archaeological record. Dr. Henrietta Moore, who spent 15 years cataloging inscriptions at various Sudanese sites before her controversial departure from academia, claimed that certain mathematical sequences found in temple inscriptions predicted astronomical events with impossible accuracy. She argued that these inscriptions contained advanced knowledge of planetary motion, eclipse cycles, and possibly even gravitational physics. Her papers were rejected by every major journal, and she eventually stopped publishing altogether. Her last known research notes, obtained through a colleague, suggest she believed the temples were built using lost construction techniques that involved sound frequency manipulation and magnetic field alignment. The Temple of the Sun God at Musawwarat, es-Sufra, deserves particular attention. This massive complex, sprawling across several hectares, features a unique architectural element called the Great Enclosure, a labyrinthine structure with narrow passages, ramps, and chambers, arranged in a pattern that some researchers believe represents a three-dimensional star map. The walls are covered with reliefs depicting what appear to be elephants, but upon closer examination, these elephants possess unusual features: elongated heads, strange appendages, and geometric patterns on their bodies that don't match any known elephant species. Local legends speak of sky beasts that once walked among humans, and some researchers have controversially suggested these reliefs might represent something other than terrestrial animals. Water played a crucial role in these temple complexes, and the sophistication of their hydraulic engineering is staggering. At Meroe, archaeologists have discovered evidence of an advanced water management system that included underground reservoirs, aqueducts, and possibly even early forms of water purification. But here's the inexplicable part. Some of these water channels extend into areas where no natural water source exists, and their purpose remains completely unknown. Chemical analysis of residue found in certain temple basins has revealed trace elements that shouldn't be present in the region's natural water supply, suggesting either long-distance water transportation or some form of ritual mixing involving rare minerals. The relationship between these Sudanese temples and their Egyptian counterparts is more complex than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. Evidence suggests that during certain periods, the Kushite civilization actually conquered and ruled Egypt, with Kushite pharaohs of the 25th dynasty controlling both kingdoms. Yet the temples they built in Sudan demonstrate architectural and astronomical knowledge that appears more advanced than contemporary Egyptian structures. Some researchers have proposed the heretical theory that knowledge actually flowed from south to north, that Sudan, not Egypt, was the original source of the Nile Valley's advanced civilization. This theory is vehemently rejected by the archaeological establishment, but the evidence is difficult to dismiss entirely. One of the most disturbing aspects of these forgotten temples is what happened to researchers who got too close to certain discoveries. In 1984, Dr. Friedrich Weber, a German archaeologist, claimed to have discovered a sealed chamber beneath the Temple of Amun that contained artifacts of non-terrestrial origin. He died in a car accident 2 weeks later, and his field notes disappeared. In 1997, a UNESCO team investigating temple preservation reported finding anomalous magnetic fields around several temple sites that interfered with their equipment. Their report was buried in bureaucratic archives and never received follow-up investigation. In 2003, a joint Sudanese-American expedition was abruptly canceled after preliminary excavations revealed what team members described as impossible architecture. Stone blocks fitted together with sub-millimeter precision and showing evidence of machine tooling. The temples also feature a puzzling abundance of quartz and granite, materials that had to be quarried from locations over 100 kilometers away and transported across desert terrain. The largest of these stones weighs an estimated 50 tons. How did a civilization supposedly limited to Bronze Age technology move such massive blocks across sand? The wheel was barely developed in this region during the temple construction period, and there are no navigable rivers connecting the quarries to the building sites. Yet somehow, thousands of these massive stones were precisely cut, transported, and assembled into structures that have survived millennia of wind, sand, and the occasional earthquake. Perhaps most intriguing are the recurring symbols found across multiple temple sites, geometric patterns, spirals, and what appear to be astronomical diagrams. One symbol, in particular, appears in virtually every major temple: a circle with radiating lines surrounding a central dot, often accompanied by the image of a serpent eating its tail. Ancient texts describe the symbol as representing the eternal cycle, or the door between worlds. New Age researchers have claimed this symbol represents portals or stargates, though mainstream archaeologists dismiss such interpretations. Yet no one can satisfactorily explain why this identical symbol appears in cultures separated by thousands of miles, in Sudan, in Malta, in India, and even in pre-Columbian America. Today, many of these temples remain unexcavated, slowly disappearing beneath the advancing desert sands. Civil conflict in Sudan has prevented comprehensive archaeological study of numerous sites. Some temples have been deliberately destroyed by modern religious fundamentalists who view them as idolatrous. Others have been damaged by treasure hunters searching for gold and precious artifacts. The international archaeological community has shown remarkably little interest in preserving or studying these monuments, particularly when compared to the resources devoted to Egyptian and Middle Eastern sites. What secrets remain buried beneath Sudan's sands? What knowledge did the ancient Kushites possess that we have lost? And perhaps most importantly, why has the world been so eager to forget these magnificent temples and the civilization that built them? The answers may lie waiting in those unexplored underground chambers, in the undeciphered inscriptions, in the acoustic anomalies and magnetic fields that modern science cannot explain. Or perhaps the answers have already been found and deliberately suppressed, locked away in museum basements and classified archives, deemed too dangerous or too paradigm-shattering for public consumption. In the end, the greatest mystery of Sudan's forgotten temples may not be their construction or their purpose, but the systematic erasure of their importance from our collective historical memory.